Hey guys, it's GOTY here, and today I'm finally playing Helldivers 2, and spoiler alert for this video, I'm absolutely loving it. And today I'm just going to be absolutely gushing about the game. Sure, I'm going to talk about a few things that I dislike and things that are currently really broken with the game, but overall I genuinely think this is a serious Game of the Year contender. This game it's just so fun. I think that's the main thing with it. It's just extremely fun to play. I actually play it and enjoy it. Like, I'm not just playing it just to make content on it, and that is something that's really refreshing to me, especially with this day and age of games. So if you guys don't know or somehow haven't heard of Helldivers right now, Helldivers 2 is a sequel to a game that came out almost 7 or 8 years ago and is a third-person shooter developed by Arrowhead Game Studios and published by Sony, yes, PlayStation themselves. The game is a sequel to Helldivers, which obviously came out in 2015, which was a top-down shooter, and it is currently a console exclusive for the PS5 and available on Steam, where it's currently breaking all sorts of records, and it was so good in fact that it entirely broke the game's servers. This game went viral and the max server limit was reached very quickly, and this game is just topping numbers. It's topping games such as GTA 5 and Destiny on Steam, like their max player count. This game has a higher max player count, and that's why I bought the game. I wanted to see and check it out. I'd heard loads of good reviews about it. Some of my friends were absolutely raving about it, so I then picked up the game. Unfortunately though, after a few days, because I actually purchased the game I think on the 18th or the 19th of February, I actually couldn't play just purely for the fact that I couldn't get into the game itself. The servers wouldn't let me.
Let me in! Let me in!
And I'm not the type of person to sit there and wait 2 hours on a server screen to, get through the queue. I only waited about 2 minutes and then stopped sort of each day, and I just couldn't get on. And finally today, I actually got onto the game, and from what I've played, it is brilliant. Okay, is it the best video game of all time? No, far from it, but it's one of the best live services that I've seen in a modern day video game. So a lot of games that are coming out nowadays are $70, $60, and obviously convert that to your local currency, and those games are coming out then introducing microtransactions which either break the game or pay to win. You've got loot boxes or card packs or anything like that, or you've got microtransactions which cost more than the actual game itself for maybe, a couple of skins and maybe some armor or something like that. And Helldivers 2 is a live service. However, the actual game itself only costs $30 to $40. Obviously, again, convert that to your national currency there if you want to actually know how much it is. But Helldivers 2 is it's just had a huge positive impact on the overall gaming industry, to the point where the CEO of the game, I think it was, or one of the head developers, actually went over on Twitter to tell people if they're, hard pressed for cash, not to pick up the game until the issues were fixed with the servers. And a update went out, I think it went out either today or yesterday as of recording this video, and it's pretty much fixed quite a lot of issues that I had with the game initially. And I went in and I've been playing the game non-stop, and I really just want to talk about it in this video. So what is Helldivers? Well, you get into the game, you have a really just well-written and very humorous tutorial that goes on about propaganda and freedom and democracy.
Anakin, my allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy!
That's sort of the whole vibe of the game. It's very similar to Starship Troopers, if you guys have ever seen that movie, and it's probably the closest thing we'll get to a high-budget Starship Troopers video game in, the modern day and modern setting of video games. And the game itself is just brilliant from the way it looks. Graphically, the game looks brilliant, and it's actually really well optimized for PC. I've played the game both on Steam and on PS5, and I've got to say, for both, for playing on quite high specs, the game actually performs quite well. And yes, it does have a few issues of crashing. I have had it both crash on Steam and PS5 as well, and that's more been to, I guess, for some reason I get the game, it crashes more when I'm matchmaking or when I've just come out of a game. It's really odd. And I've got to be honest, those are my two sort of biggest complaints. The fact that obviously the servers, obviously it's a weird complaint to have, that the game was so popular that the servers just reached max capacity. You don't really hear that sort of thing happening. I think the last time that I can recall a game doing that was GTA 5 Online back in the day. And then obviously the crashing as well, but the game overall is just fantastic. The game has really good gunplay where you can have, ARs, submachine guns, pistols, rocket launchers, and then you can get heavy weapons as well to come in there and obviously spread democracy and freedom across the galaxy, and it's just brilliant as well. And you don't just have alien bugs to fight in this game, but you also have robotic automatrons, also known as, people are sort of nicknaming them to be the Terminators because they kind of walk at you and approach you like the Terminator. And I've got to be honest, the actual automatrons are actually really humbling. Like when fighting the robots, they are humbling, and this game can get really difficult sometimes. Now, the game is an online live service, like I said earlier, and although you can play solo, this is probably another complaint I'd have. There's not really a lot of content for solo players. I'd say that on the lower difficulties, you definitely can hop into a game and play in solo. Obviously, you're probably going to have a lot of difficulty because, unfortunately, the game doesn't scale for the amount of people you have in your party. It scales purely on the difficulty, and you have, I think it's trivial, easy, normal, hard, etc. And I think there's 9 or 10 levels of difficulty, and when you go up, it gets really hard. I actually had some hard times on medium, to be honest with you, just because, again, this game, it really depends on who you're playing with. If you've got a good group of friends, 4 of you, and you're going into this game, you'll have an absolute blast. If you guys are talking and have communication, that is absolutely key. The way the game works though is you choose a planet, and the really cool thing about this game that I still wrap my head around just because of how cool it is this world, or this galaxy map rather, is an evolving world. It is an online live service, and you have Super Earth in the middle with both opposing powers fighting for control of the galaxy. And essentially what you're doing as the entire gaming community in Helldivers 2 is trying to liberate each planet. And the funny thing is, you can actually see this happening in real time. I played the game once in the morning and once in the afternoon, and when I came back in the afternoon, I guess the liberation scale on one of the planets had actually drastically changed, and that, in my opinion, is super cool because it makes you feel like the galaxy and the worlds are alive and they're breathing, and what you're doing is actually impacting the galaxy, and it actually matters. But essentially what you do is you go to a galaxy map, you choose if you want to go fight the automatrons or the bugs, and you go in, you select a planet, and then you go in and select a mode. Now this is another issue that I had in the game. I've got to be honest, so what you can do is just quick play and it selects, someone else's session, you drop into it sort of midway through. What you can do as well if you're playing solos, you can drop an SOS beacon and players can join via quick play that way as well. However, I've got to be honest, this never works for me, and I've also seen other people on YouTube saying the same thing. I either get crashing on PC, or if I'm playing on console, it just straight up disconnects and I get kicked back to the lobby, which is fine. But what I'd really recommend doing is either obviously playing locally with a group of friends, or just by going onto a random session. You have markers on the planet that actually tell you who is in each session, and what I tend to do is look for sort of better players in a session, join them, and just have a good time. And don't get me wrong, half the time I will just pick a random person and join them, but I have had a few instances where I've had a few players that are really bad at the game and they really drag you down, because obviously if you're playing with randoms, there's not much communication. Now there is communication in forms of, obviously there's game chat as well as the fact that you can ping certain things, but a lot of people are still new to the game because of the server issues and they haven't had a chance to play, or they just haven't played the game much, which is fine. And I guess not having a mic turned on actually makes the game a lot more difficult, which is really interesting for me. Now, in terms of microtransactions, the game is actually really good and really fairly priced. You can buy armor for really cheap, and I'll sort of have that on screen now and the different pricing and whatnot. And yes, the game does have a battle pass, but it has 2 battle passes. It has one that is free and includes completely free content, and one that is paid. Now I know what you're thinking, a lot of games like Fortnite do this way. If you don't pay for the battle pass, you will get a few rewards here or there. Maybe you get, usually it's like pages of 10 in a battle pass, and you might get 1 or 2 if you're a free person. But Helldivers 2 surprised me because the free battle pass is actually really good. It's basically a normal battle pass, but for free you get loads of armor, you get weapons, which is a bit pay to win in my opinion, but it doesn't impact the game as a whole. I have heard people complaining that the paid battle pass does include a very OP weapon, but again, there's no PvP, so it's not too bad there. But the actual free battle pass includes loads, and essentially what you do is you get medals by finishing games and objectives and side objectives. I'll get onto that later, and you can go in and purchase things, and some of the stuff here is really cool and I really recommend checking it out. But the way that this game works is, like I said earlier, you select a planet, you select an objective, you dive into the pods sort of ODST style from Halo, and then you fight your enemy. However, this is where things get really interesting, and it's, something that I didn't learn until my sort of second or third game, believe it or not. When you spawn into the map, you have a sort of open map area with loads of objectives to do on the map. However, when you spawn in, you have one main objective. It may be something like capture a flag and put it into an area, or disrupt a transmission, or save a load of scientists and escort them to evac. However, also scattered on the map are loads of side objectives, and doing these will earn you more medals that can then earn you extra things in the battle pass, which is really cool, and it's a great incentive for you to actually explore. However, there is definitely risk and reward here. If you go across the map and just find something that's really difficult, you will need a whole squad, or at least 3 really capable Helldivers, to actually go in and win to earn those medals and rewards and extra currency. Oh, speaking of which, this game has a sort of capital ship hub area which you can actually name. I named mine the Knight of Justice after Batman because why not? It was the first thing that popped in my head, quite frankly. And you can actually customize this. It's here where you can use the currency earned in your matches to actually purchase things like extra weapons that you can use, like heavy weapons that you can drop in with, and different, what I'm going to nickname as kill streaks, just because people who haven't played Helldivers 2 might not get it. But you can summon in things like artillery strikes and bombing runs. And another thing to note here is that friendly fire is turned on, and I've got to be honest, half the time I've been killed by a person who's turned a kill streak on us, and you don't notice that they've turned it, and it's because your back is turned to it, or they just straight up shoot you. I've had one person that when we got onto the sort of evac shuttle at the end, they shot the entire team and got on them by themselves, which is a dick move. If you're that person, don't do it. But overall, this game is just fantastic. I'm really having a blast, and like I said, I kind of want to stop editing this video and recording it and whatnot and just go play the game. I think that's probably the best thing to do here, and I'm really glad to see that a game made by a really small studio with a really good microtransaction system and battle pass system and just, I guess, loop progression. I will admit it is a bit grindy for some of the extra weapons and whatnot, but that's fine because I'm actually happy to grind in a game like this, and I cannot wait to see where they go with it in the future, because as the galaxy map is being completed by the community, more planets and areas are opening up with different habitats and ecosystems. You have things like jungles, you have snow areas, you have like red misty planets which remind you of Mars with all weather effects on them. You have ones with like lightning and rain. You have planets where the fog and the dust is so high that you actually can't see enemies coming towards you, and especially when you're fighting the robots, this is where things get really hectic. I really recommend maybe having a couple games on a lower difficulty if you haven't played the game before, just because it teaches you sort of how to play the game a bit better. And then I really recommend sort of going on to easy, medium and progressing your way up, as I've got to be honest, it teaches you about the game quite roughly. If you are playing with randoms, if you are confident enough, I would very much recommend turning your mic on and sort of instructing new players what to do. I've got to be honest, I had that happen to me where there was 2 people in my game that were sort of showing me things that I probably wouldn't have figured out until like maybe a few games later. So I definitely recommend helping your fellow Helldivers spread freedom and democracy across the galaxy. Anyway, if I had to give it some kind of rating, I would give the game an 8 out of 10. The only reason why I'm giving it that low of a rating is obviously the crashing, as well as a few other issues such as matchmaking, and obviously the server issues as a whole, which have widely been fixed. If you're AFK, you're now being kicked, because I know a lot of people were staying AFK just so they could stay in the servers overnight, which is really funny. But people are being kicked now just to make room, which is fantastic news for people like me that just want to play it. But yeah, I'll give it an 8 out of 10 just because those few issues are quite big. And like I said, I think it's more the crashing for me. I have had the game crash a few times and I did lose all my progress in like a half-an-hour game, which really annoyed me. But overall, the game is just fantastic. The, I guess, audio design as well, with the music and the gunfire, the gunplay itself with the recoil deviation actually being shown on screen, which is really nice, and the fact that you can go first person as well, and just the overall vibe of the game, it's really cool. Anyway everyone, thank you so much for watching the video today. This has been my unscripted take on Helldivers 2, and for more videos on Helldivers 2, I'll have more videos probably on the channel in the future. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all have an absolutely tropical day. Bye.
Super Earth. Our home. Prosperity. Liberty. Hi there. Democracy. Our way of life. Oh, hello.
I'm sorry.
Doesn't come free. No! Sweet liberty!